Hey guys, it's Thomas and Sam here, and welcome to GameChat. This here on GameChat, we are going to review Sonic Mania, which we have just finished playing. It was fun for him, fun for me. No, it is a good game. As I said when we were playing it, there were a few issues that I found, but that's probably because I haven't played Sonic before. Being that there were some issues with when it was just technical issues with when we were trying to get full screen, but the audio wasn't passing over. That isn't too much of an issue, but the fact that you had to unlock two-player, I found a little bit annoying. But
yeah, I get what they're doing, that you have to complete the level in single player before you can actually play it in multiplayer. But I must say, it's like, I don't like that you have to unlock it. But I must say it's done a lot better than how Sonic Colors did it.
Yeah, I mean,
because you had to unlock 10 red, you have to find 10 or 15 red rings in single player mode before you could unlock the Eggman Sonic Simulator, which was the multiplayer mode. Which red rings can be pretty tricky to find sometimes, so it took me like a full 1.5 hours to at least unlock multiplayer mode in Sonic Colors. So
I mean, I guess they're trying to carry over some, like most of the mechanics from the previous games, and I get that. And it didn't take too long to get, to be honest. And yeah, I do get how they're trying to make it so you have to finish levels, but at least give us the first act, at least, so you can just give us ourselves a bit of a test.
Or at least done it how Sonic the Hedgehog 2 did it, because in Sonic 2, there were two ways you could do multiplayer. You could do single player, and then the second player could pick up a controller, press a button, and Tails would become activated as a second player.
Yeah, that's what I would have liked to see. I would have liked to see multiplayer in story mode, like just being able to play through the whole game in multiplayer.
But I think the problem with that one was that because Sonic is the main character, so it's really easy for Tails to just go off the screen and die, but it's not like it really matters because Tails doesn't have any lives or stuff. Like, you can just do extra stuff with Tails to help out Sonic.
I mean, it's just the because people will always want to be able to play together like we were trying to before, seeing if there was an option to, and just disadvantaging people to not be able to have to play the game differently.
Yeah.
It's not. I guess. It kind of, it's not, it could have been done better. It could have been done better, that's what I'm trying to say. I'm just still trying to get over how many times I lost.
Another thing that Sonic 2 did really good is it also had a two-player mode, but what it did is you could pick, I think, it gave you one act of each zone in the game that was sort of recoded and redesigned for multiplayer mode, and they were just all unlocked, I'm pretty sure, because with the old Sega Genesis stuff, it wouldn't, like, it doesn't save, I don't think. Well, I think it did later on in like Sonic 3 and stuff, but that's besides the point. It actually had stuff for you to go back and like to go and do it without having to do single player mode, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that was the biggest downside to me, that you had to that they were almost completely different games. Like there is no story mode for multiplayer. You got to go through these different challenges. It would have been nice to see two-player, but I mean, this is the first Sonic game I've ever played, so I don't know what it's supposed to be like. Coming from someone who's played Sonic for a while, how true is this to the original games? How do you think this fits in, and is it good in your opinion?
I think it is probably in the middle of the good multiplayers, because like most of the Sonic games are definitely more single player revolving with because it's very like heavy on story, so there's most of the games that do have multiplayer are actually pretty crap, like Sonic and the Secret Rings and Sonic and the Black Knight. And then you've got stuff like Sonic 1 and Sonic Unleashed that have no multiplayer at all. Sonic 1 makes sense because that was the first one, but Sonic Unleashed just has no multiplayer whatsoever. But this is probably one of the better multiplayer things that I've played. There have been better ones, but this is probably higher up on the multiplayer playability and enjoyment.
Like, I guess it was fun to play at parts, but just it was. I'm just trying to think from a one-player perspective. I guess it wouldn't be too bad, but when you're trying to play with two people, which of course we have to, yeah, it's not as enjoyable. Is the issue that I found. But if there's ever updates for this game, do they do updates for the games?
I think they did, because there was something that actually broke in in regards to DRM, we've noticed an error in the Steam store not mentioning the DRM for Sonic Mania. We're fixing that now. It's intended to be played offline. We're investigating reports on that and stuff like that. So I think they do updates.
I said do.
But it's a bit too early to say for sure, because it did only come out like a few days ago. Which is really good.
We managed to get on it.
We managed to get something early, on time, finally.
We recorded TSKYJJ when it was still a thing, but didn't get it out in time.
Stuff was just crapping itself, and we didn't get it up until 10 months after we originally recorded it. So
from the point where this game was supposed to be played in one player, it was
really good.
It was good.
Probably the bits that I loved the most is like the nostalgia from the original games, because I have actually played Sonic 1, 2 and 3, and probably like, because what I really loved about Act 1 in Sonic Mania is it included Act 1 and 2 of Green Hill Zone from the original game. Like, it mashed them up. And then it had these little Sonic 3 and Knuckles representative bits that had the special ring, and with the sparkles around the checkpoints, which was representing Sonic 2, which took you to the Sonic 3 special stage. I like how they're just mashing everything from Sonic 1, 2 and 3, and even little bits from Sonic CD into it, because like, just so many different bits mashed up into one game. Like, that's what I love about these sorts of anniversary games. Like, that's what made Sonic Generations so good, because you could get players that were new to the franchise and experience the old levels in a new and interesting way, or get players who have been with the franchise since the start and just go remember all the old stuff. And I think that's what this one is really good for, because it's a new game, and it's sort of like Sonic Generations with the classic Sonic, except it's taken it up to a whole nother level. It's gone back to the old 16-bit roots and through all the old things, and it's basically used so much of the things from Sonic 1, 2, 3 and CD that just makes it really good. Like, that's also what made Sister Location really good, because it had so much stuff from the other 4 games of the franchise. So I really love the fact that it included so many things, and like, because even in like, because it's got 2 acts which represent Sonic 2 and 3, but Sonic 3 also has a mid-boss in Act 1 and then a main boss in Act 2, which is also what Sonic Mania had. And what I liked about it was it sort of had something new, and something that, like, it had something from the old games but reimagined in a new way. Like, the mid-boss in Green Hill Zone in Act 1 had it was sort of representing
guys here. Studios representing every day.
It was sort of representing the first ever Sonic the Hedgehog boss from Sonic 1, but it was in a different way. It had 2 pendulums, and it was like, when they were silver you could hit them, and when they were red you can't. It was, I'm
sure most people watching this video have seen the gameplay.
And it was really, really fun. and it just made me remember of the first ever Sonic boss.
There was a nice flow to it. It wasn't really chunky. Like they did throw in and mash up a few things as you were saying, but it wasn't chunky. You wouldn't be go on this place and then you have to jump over here. It was a nice flow. There was a nice flow to it. Even between the different stages, the different zones, there was still a nice flow to it.
Yeah.
It wasn't really chunky.
And like with the Death Egg Robot, like, because I got a bit of a fright when I saw Death Egg Robot in Green Hill Zone, because that was the final boss of Sonic 2, and I must say I struggled a lot on that one. Most of you would have a lot, probably, if you have played Sonic 2.
Makes you wonder what the final boss will be, if that's like the second boss.
But that was a really good one, because that was a really nice, easy, reimagined version of it. Like, it wasn't incredibly hard, like it originally was, because sometimes the old games can be pretty darn tricky. And because in Sonic 2, the final zone actually gave you no rings, and it had two bosses straight off the bat, because it gave you no rings and what the hell?
Windows couldn't start this screensaver, guys. Be worried. Your Windows can't start this screensaver.
So, like in the Death Egg Zone, it would start you off, you'd move like a couple steps with no rings, and you'd get Metal Sonic, you'd beat Metal Sonic, and then you'd move over, still no rings, and get the Death Egg Robot, which you had to hit 8 times. Sonic Mania actually gave you rings, there were platforms to jump off, you could actually spin dash through the Death Egg Robot's legs, which was a lot easier, and it only took 4 hits to beat it, so it was...
Can you just rub my laptop, please? No, yeah, you have to rub it. Click. Click. Oh well, I guess it's gonna die. Well,
so it was like, it was a really good, easy reimagination of the Death Egg Robot, which was really cool, because because final bosses have been used in Sonic Generations, like with Big Arms and Perfect Chaos and stuff, and they were easy reimaginations of it as well, and I really like how they can sort of reuse the old things, especially the bosses at the later end of the old games, and make them easier and put them at the start of a game. And it's really cool how they can be really flexible with a lot of the old stuff that they've done, and I like how they've been doing that for most of the anniversary games. You should have done something like this for the 15th anniversary, because Sonic 06 just didn't work out for you, I'm sorry.
Anyway,
but it was really good. So with Sonic Forces coming out in November, I hope it sort of has a similar representation. It might not, since Sonic Mania goes back to the old stuff, but if Sonic Forces does include classic Sonic, it might go back to some of the classic Sonic roots, and I sure do hope it goes back to some of the older modern Sonic games, or even back to the Dreamcast era, because Sonic Mania was sort of going back to the Sega Genesis era. So I think mainly Forces could focus more on the Dreamcast and the modern era of Sonic the Hedgehog, and I think that would be really cool. Like, instead of having to compact everything into one game like Sonic Generations, have it a bit more spread out and get more content into the 2 different games. So like with Sonic Mania focusing on the retro side, the Mega Drive, Sega Genesis stuff, and then Sonic Forces on the 3D games with the Dreamcast era and the modern era. So I really hope they do something like that.
Okay, well we better start wrapping off. If you don't know much about Sonic, then that was a big blurb to you, and also well done to you for sticking around this long if you don't know about Sonic. But hopefully you did stick around for this long. We're gonna wrap this thing up now. We have almost no time left, so we'll see you later. Bye!